Hello, good evening. Namaste. I'm Zhou, entrepreneur and owner and operator of Gracious Host Events and PR. I just want to say I'm so impressed with the last speaker. She was so eloquent without notes and just delivered this like amazing, heartwarming speech. So I hope I can live up. I've been told to share with you on the theme of success. Now, if you asked me in my 20s what success meant, I could clearly tell you. It meant a corner office, six-figure income, and a beautiful family. I had like everything on a timeline. You know, by the time I was 25, I was gonna get married. By 30, I was gonna have 2 kids. Like boom, boom, boom. I was like really aiming for those. And every day I would work till probably 3 in the morning, answering emails and endless phone calls and just burning my candles on both ends. And I was proud when people say, "Hey, Alice, how are you?" I'm like, "Great! I am so busy, I'm running off my feet." And I thought, why shouldn't I be running off my feet? I'm 20-something, you know, every day I'm out there making things happen, and at night I'm out partying, literally till like 3 in the morning, and then getting maybe 4 hours sleep. But the next day I'll be like, all right, another day, let's go. And I thought youth was an asset that I could burn. I had tons of it, and it's okay. I'll get sick once in a while, but later I'll get old, but then I'll deal with old when I get old. But at the time, if an insurance person called me, I'm like, hey, I'm in my 20s. Call me when I'm 50. Like, don't bother me. I'm good. So I had a different mentality altogether. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I was definitely naive and thinking, oh yeah, this is great. This is gonna go on forever. Until it didn't. I don't know if you guys ever experienced that, where life suddenly bites you in the ass and puts you down in a bed and says, you're sick, and this is not going away. And I'm like, what? What happened? What happened to the youth? What happened to the vitality? Why is my foot the size of a football? Like, this is insanity. I was snowboarding and my foot swelled up. I'm like, whoa, I think I need to go to a hospital. This is beyond like visit to the clinic. And what happened was I had hyperthyroid. So my heart was beating, like pumping 3 times. It was like, pop, 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 like crazy. And that's why I was so hyper. That's why I couldn't sleep and was burning my candles on both ends. And at the time, my business was taking off. I'm like, telling my family, I'm like, Mom, you have no idea. I'm like making money. This is great. My phone's ringing off the hook. And she's like, no, you need to stop. Like, you're sick. You need to stop. And I'm like, what? I'm like, really? Like, finally, my business is taking off and you're telling me to stop? Like, don't you understand momentum? Like, you can't get off when momentum is going up. And then she finally rallied up my whole family, including my aunt, who's an amazing entrepreneur from Japan. She called me long distance from Japan. So she asked me very wisely, she said, Alice, how much money do you want to make? I was like, oh, yeah, and you know, I want to make 2 million a month. That's my goal. She's like, okay, how many zero is in million? I'm like, I don't know, like 8 or 9, a lot of zeros. She's like, okay. She's like, what is the number in the front? I'm like, 2 and 8 zeros, I think. So she's like, you know that 2, that is your health. If you are not healthy, the rest of it are zeros. The rest of your life. Think of all the different aspects of your life. Your family, your love, your friends, your education, your personal development, your sports, all the fun things you get to enjoy, good food, all of that, 0 when you don't have your health. And it dawned on me, I'm like, wow, my aunt is smart. I need to listen. I need to shut up and listen to my aunt. So I took a year off, went to China, and literally did nothing. It actually kind of drove me crazy to go from a workaholic, perfectionist, type A personality to doing nothing in Shanghai. I watched a lot of movies, but literally I was kind of driven myself a little crazy for doing nothing. But in that time, it really gave me perspective. And it taught me that life has, have you guys ever seen the rainbow wheel? Where it has different colors, like there's education, there's health and wellness, there's your family, there's love, there's friendship, all of that. I didn't understand that before. All I saw was like, oh, I need to be like at an MBA and have money and have a nice car and all the symbolic things that society brainwashed us that was success is. That's what I was chasing. Exactly like Winston. I wanted the toys. I wanted to show off and go to the best parties. When those are just superficial. It's how you actually feel. And in my 20s, I didn't know what I wanted. I had no idea. What I discovered was those are the things my family wanted for me. I mean, if I really followed the plan my mom had for me, I would be married to an accountant and maybe working for the CRA or something, which, trust me, that is really not the life path for me. And having probably 2 kids and counting my pension, but that's really not the path. Yeah, so in my 30s now, having gone through all of that, I now really focus more on being. What I didn't understand was, and this kind of came to me, I had a friend who's an energy healer, Colleen Winia. And several years ago, she was giving me a massage, and she's like, Alice, you're one of the hardest working people I know. But she's like, you know, that's a very masculine energy. I'm like, masculine energy? I'm like, I don't feel that masculine. What do you mean? She's like, you're constantly running, you know, making phone calls and doing things. That's actually hunting. Did you know you're hunting? I'm like, what am I hunting? She's like, clients. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm hunting for clients. So she's like, you know, you should kind of dive more into your feminine energy and receive. I'm like, you mean like sit there and do nothing? Like, how do I activate my feminine energy and receive? I don't really understand that. Like, I'm used to doing something to get somewhere, but I didn't understand how to receive. And it was kind of a foreign concept because I was a giver. Since I was very young, I've been involved in the nonprofit world. So I knew lots about volunteering, giving, and it felt good to give. I was taught that when you're a giver, you know, that's you're contributing. You had value, you have worth when you give. But receiving, I didn't really know too much about. Not to say that I don't like presents, I love presents, but it always felt better to give than receive. What I didn't understand is, in order to be fully abundant, you have to be a giver and a receiver. So that was a lesson I had to learn. And now that I've been practicing being more feminine, there are things that we cannot see. The world we see is a material world, but there's a lot of things that are coming into manifestation. And a lot of things are in the intention and the vibration and the energy of the world. So if we're constantly doing, you know, it's like planting seeds. There's a season for planting seeds, there's a season to wait and while the seeds kind of mature, and there's a season for harvesting. So if you constantly plant seeds, it's not going to grow into anything. So we must understand the timing of life and the timing of all things and being flow with nature. Because I found out sometimes God has other plans. You know, when you want things to happen when you're 25, when you're 30, doesn't sometimes happen. You know, they may have different plans than as you planned it. Put up your hand if some of your plans didn't come into effect when you wanted it. You're like, oh, I wanted a bike for Christmas. And then you got something else. You're like, okay, a 3-wheeler, okay, I wanted a 2-wheeler. This is interesting, right? So reality sometimes twists and changes instead of what you thought. So as I'm going through this journey, I realized I was living this giant lie. All the things I wanted wasn't really from me. And I was like, who am I trying to please? What I discovered was I was trying to please everyone, from my friends, from my family, but really, especially my mom. But she's from a different time. She grew up in a different country and had different ideas of what success and happiness is. And for her, it was all about security. You have to understand, she grew up throughout the Cultural Revolution where China was in chaos, you know, and there was a lot of fighting. So, you know, there wasn't a lot of resources. So no matter how many years she's been living in Canada, she's always like, oh, we new immigrants. I'm like, Mom, we've been here like 30 plus years. 30 plus years is not new. It's not like we came out of the plane like yesterday. Like, where is this new coming from? But she always has this like fear mentality that, oh, we don't have enough money in the bank. We got to save some for the rainy day. I'm like, really? Why? We have a house, we have income, like why do we have to do that? Like where's this, the sky's not falling, but she always feels like the sky's gonna fall very soon, so we must prepare. You know, have you guys ever had parents or grandparents like that who lived through the Depression, who was like, oh, we gotta save all the cans, you know, in the basement in case something happens? Yeah. So that fear mentality, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's safe, but it's incessant. Like every aspect of your life, if you live in fear, it gets to you, right? But when it's just like, oh, it's a nice thing to do, it's a cautious thing to do, but you gotta understand, you're either in abundance or in fear. And if all your life is preparing for the sky to fall, you're attracting, the law of attraction is attracting that to happen. So be careful what you wish for. I can give you an example. I don't really go to Richmond very much, and I always thought, oh, one day some crazy Asian driver is gonna smash into my car, so I gotta be careful. So every time I go to Richmond, I'm like, let's drive really carefully, look everywhere, and you know what? One day, out of Aberdeen Center, this crazy middle-aged Chinese woman smashed into my car, like exactly how I feared. Thank God it just dinged my door, but it T-boned me, and I'm like, oh my God, it's exactly how I envisioned it happened. I've been fearing it, and then I pulled it into reality. So after that, I'm like, it's done. Okay, I already got hit. No more. I'm not gonna have that fear anymore. It already happened. It was fine. I lived through it. So be careful what you are afraid of too. It's not just what you want. Have you guys done mantras or those stickies where you say, hey, I am beautiful, I am successful, I am happy, I'm gonna make blah, blah, blah. Our fears, think about our fears. Don't just think about our mantras of what you want. Because mantras you may only read one time, but you'd be surprised how often you speak to yourself unconsciously about your fears. Fears of getting into a car accident, fear of getting fat, fear of losing a job, fear of whatever. Divorce, who knows? Or your child getting hurt. So be careful of your fears, because the more times you fear them, the more times they're gonna come into existence. Now, this all came to a moment of clarity when I went to my first Vipassana retreat. Vipassana is a silent retreat where you literally do nothing and meditate all day. And you have to get up at, I think, 4 in the morning. So after going through all the different personal development and rah-rah-rah weekends, it came to a massive aha moment when I went to Vipassana. It was during the absence of the rah-rah that I realized all the rah-rah is basically like cheerleading. It's telling you that success is hard work and ambition, and you're gonna be the elites of society, and you know, this is the best thing since sliced bread. But really, what it's doing is it's tugging on your greed, and it's tugging on your incessant need to please all the people in your life so that you can be seen as success. But what it is money. Like whether it's the stock market or real estate or whatever it is, buying an expert that can be your mentor so that you can really succeed in your business to make more money. It's really preying on our insecurities as people. And it was just a lightning bolt. And I was like, I don't want that. I don't really care how much money I make. Money does not motivate me. And it was a split moment where I go, oh, this is what my parents want for me. This is what my family and culture want for me, but this is really not what I wanted. What I really wanted was to help people transform, find their true meaning, find their true path, their dharma, and become happy. That is what success means to me and makes me happy. And from that point on, I finally felt like I found my life direction. Now, some people have to really hit rock bottom before they can begin a self-discovery of their true meaning, their true path, their own life mission. And for me, the catalyst was breaking off my engagement. And It happened while we were planning the wedding. And what I found out was I was conditioned so much so to be the good girl, to be the good girlfriend, to be the good fiancé or potential wife, that I thought relationship and love and all those beautiful things was about compromise. How many of you can relate to that? That you're like, oh, should we have this fight or should we just go, okay, sure. We can go for coffee instead of tea. We can listen to rock and roll instead of Celine Dion. We can go to the weekend to Victoria instead of spending here. We can go to your favorite restaurant. So what I found out was, at the time, my principle was, if you're gonna fight, you should fight for big things. You know, like how many kids you're gonna have, what kind of house. To me, those are like big decisions. You should really fight for those. But little decisions like which restaurant you go to, you know, how you're gonna spend the weekend, those to me were petty things, so you shouldn't fight for them. And what I found out is life is mostly made up of little things. 99% of life is made of little things. So when you give up on 99% of what you want, you end up being very, very resentful and not happy. So from that experience, pushing to the ultra extreme of self-repression in the process of thinking that is love and happiness, I found out that, you know what, we gotta all speak up. Speak up for what you want. Speak up for what you love, and don't erase your identity. Being in love does not mean erasing of your own identity. It doesn't mean that you give up all the things you love to please your lover or your husband or wife. That is not the definition of love. The definition of love is to you elevate and inspire each other to be better selves, not to become, you know, lesser of yourself. So after that, I went to some personal development workshops. Recently, I went to an amazing workshop called Making the Connection Level 1 with a woman named Mary Pichette from the organization Women of Value. And she taught me some really, really incredible things. She drew this circle. She said, okay, Linda was born and she got straight A's, went to all the great schools, got an MBA, got a job, had a husband, had kids, blah, 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 blah. She is a whole and complete woman. And then there's Susie. Susie failed and flunked her school. She joined a gangster, joined a gang. She did various things, ended up in jail, for petty thieves and all that kind of stuff. She is a whole and complete woman. And so she was saying, when a child is born, you're born whole and complete. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to earn anything to be whole and complete. So for everyone here, it was a watershed moment for me. I was like, oh, I always thought I had to do something, had to be someone, be somewhere, have some degree or have something, obtain something in order to be whole and complete. No, we were born whole and complete. So it was a watershed moment, and what I realized from that training was that how you were raised really creates kind of the personalities that we carry as adults. And the fact that my family didn't really allow, especially children, to express their negative emotions. I don't know how many of you are like that, but my family really believed in positivity. We're like, no negative emotions. No, you can't be sad or angry or mad. No, we should be happy. Happy. So happy that I have smile wrinkles. How many of you have smile wrinkles? I have smile wrinkles because I'm so used to smiling through everything, even through pain, anger, disgust, everything. It was always a smile, but it's a very fake smile. But I learned how to put on a smile despite everything. I learned how to hold my emotions and stuff it down. And you know what? It became illness. It is not a healthy thing. We are living, breathing human beings. We're not dolls. And I think a lot of Asian women are trained and indoctrinated to be sweet, polite, and kind and generous, and always, always always sacrificing our wants, our needs, our identity, our personality for the sake of our family, for the sake of pride, for the sake of harmony, especially harmony. It's like, ooh, let's not rock the boat. Let's not upset the grandparents or the parents or whoever. Oh, let's not upset your husband or boyfriend. It's of saying for generations every day, like, hey, you're not worthy. Your opinions don't matter. Your emotions don't matter. Other people matter, so you need to like pipe down. Allow them the space to be. You're not worthy enough to be. And I want to say, I'm actually one of the founders of a nonprofit called Beauty Vision Society. It's a society designed, a nonprofit designed to empower women. And one of the reasons I was so eager and motivated to share and start this organization is exactly for that. Because a woman's identity and worth is not determined by her education, how much money she has, or what kind of life she's led. Success means many different things. She could be an athlete. She could be an adventurer. She could be, who knows, a housewife. She could be divorced, or any number of things. As long as she is authentic and happy with herself, speaking her truth, living her truth, what I learned is success for me is authenticity, the ability to be yourself, whatever that may be. So I encourage you all to be authentic with yourself, authentic with others, and don't shy away. Don't shy away when people push you. I don't know if you ever experienced when people overshare. Have you ever had strangers tell you about their divorce or how they lost their job or, really intimate situations? I've had that happen, and I just white knuckle through it. Now I'm like, no, you need a therapist. Let me introduce you to someone. So I really, really want to thank you all for taking the time to listen today, and I want to encourage you all to wear your heart on your sleeves, because trust me, the alternative is being dead, being a walking zombie. I've been there. It's not pleasant. So whatever the pain, the joy, that's the beauty of life, is that we're here to experience and discover. So I wanted to thank Winston for giving us this opportunity to share this beautiful space and heart space with you all. So thank you.